Welcome to Basketball Cinema, where we revisit the most important and iconic games in NBA history. I'm Jay Canada, and today we're looking at Game 2 of the 2009 NBA Finals between the Orlando Magic and LA Lakers. This, of course, is the continuation of our series here on Basketball Cinema, looking at the career of Kobe Bryant. If you clicked on this vid and haven't seen the first two parts, I highly recommend you go check those out here on the channel first. When last we met to look at Kobe's career, we were right in the heart of his post-Shaq one-man wrecking crew era of play. From 2004 through 2007, Kobe averaged 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, won a pair of scoring titles, and led the Lakers to a pair of playoff appearances, almost single-handedly. Unfortunately, LA lost in the first round both times, and in the summer of 2007, drama once again cropped up around Bryant and the Lakers. Now, for as much criticism and hate that is levied towards players today, guys like LeBron James, Kevin Durant for not being loyal, well, you might be selectively forgetting about this.
I spoke to Kobe Bryant personally. He doesn't want to come back with the Los Angeles Lakers. If Kevin Garnett came there, he would change his mind. They're not getting Kevin Garnett, so he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, it's true. Kobe wanted out because the Lakers weren't equipping him with requisite weapons to win the title. And guess what? That's okay. The NBA is a cold place. Stars should use their leverage. Although the trade request from Kobe seems to be conveniently ignored by many when discussing his legacy, like I just mentioned, it's not something that fans should be ashamed of. Kobe actually confirmed those rumors later in his career, stating that he wanted specifically to be moved to Chicago, and also that he vetoed a trade that would have sent him to Detroit. Man, once again, I'm sorry Bulls fans, and this time Pistons fans catching a stray shot as well. In any event, as Stephen A mentioned in the prior clip, the Lakers weren't able to acquire Kevin Garnett or any other elite sidekick for Kobe in the offseason, and basically just decided to run it back for the 07-08 season. Outside of reacquiring Derek Fisher and losing Smush Parker, the Lakers didn't acquiesce to Kobe's demands at all, which is pretty wild to think about. Early in the season, the Lakers made a minor move that would provide value down the road when they acquired Trevor Ariza from the Orlando Magic. 20-year-old Andrew Bynum was blossoming in his third season, averaging 13 and 10 per game, but he went down to a season-ending foot injury in January. And finally, the Lakers brass was prompted to make a move, a big one, and they finally followed through. In February 2008, the Lakers dealt Kwame Brown, Javaris Crittenton, Aaron McKie, and the draft rights to Marc Gasol, along with a pair of first-rounders, to the Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for all-star forward Pau Gasol. Obviously, Marc would become a player for the Grizzlies eventually, but on paper at the time and with hindsight, that trade, woof. Even Greg Popovich had an issue with it back in 2008, stating, "What they did in Memphis is beyond comprehension. There should be a trade committee that can scratch all trades that make no sense." Imagine a somewhat lopsided trade involving the Lakers and the NBA just vetoing it. That would be the day. The reaction from Stephen A. Smith to the Gasol trade has become the stuff of legends, so I'd be remiss if I didn't include it in the video. When asked if the Lakers gave up too much for Pau,
is that a trick question?
You tell me.
They gave up Kwame Brown.
Two first rounders.
I could care less.
I mean, he was right. To think the Lakers gave up too much for Pau, well, that's really silly in hindsight. But, like, it was a pretty substantial trade package, right, Stephen A?
Kwame Brown is gone. The City of Angels, Hollywood, just should be celebrated. Throw a parade already, whether you win a championship or not. This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play.
Okay, so still on Kwame. Gotcha. Okay. To be fair, Stephen A did offer a comment of legitimate value here that ties into something I mentioned just moments ago.
And the Los Angeles Lakers did not give up Lamar Odom. They did not give up Andrew Bynum. When they were in pursuit of Jermaine O'Neal, these are the pieces that the Indiana Pacers were asking for. When the Minnesota Timberwolves were talking about moving Kevin Garnett, again, Bynum and Lamar Odom's name came up into the equation.
Again, a Kevin Garnett name drop. Very interesting. As we know, prior to the 07-08 season, KG would end up being moved to Boston, but as reported by Stephen A and others, the Lakers did make an attempt to pair up Garnett and Bryant in Tinseltown. It's a fascinating what if, as a big two of Ray Allen and Paul Pierce in Boston is far less intimidating than the big three that was ultimately formed. Garnett and Kobe would have been a ferocious duo that probably would have won at least one championship together. I don't know for sure, obviously, but it is crazy to think about. But this conversation does underscore underscore just how badly the Lakers robbed Memphis in the trade for Powell. Lamar Odom was legitimately valuable as an overqualified sixth man. Andrew Bynum was a budding big man at just 20 years old who also carried a ton of value, and the Lakers gave up neither. There's also a what-if scenario in which the Lakers instead acquired Jermaine O'Neal from the Pacers. That would have been a nightmare because Jermaine's play really fell off after 2007. In any event, with Gasol in the fold, the Lakers would win 57 games in 2007-08. Kobe would win his lone regular season MVP, but LA would eventually fall in 6 games in the NBA Finals to the aforementioned Kevin Garnett-led Boston Celtics. Kobe knew the biggest change that needed to be made for his club prior to the 08-09 season.
We left that series saying we lost to a better defensive team. And so we had our focus for the summer. We knew what we had to do. We knew we had to change. But still, you have goals in mind, and it feels incredible to have that goal and then to see all the work all the dreams coming to fruition. It's awesome.
And the Lakers did correct their defense, finishing with the 6th best defensive rating in the league, as well winning 65 games, good for top seed in the West. Oh, also, I should mention, the 2008 offseason was pretty quiet for the Lakers, but our old friend Shaquille O'Neal, he wasn't quiet.
Check it, you know how I be. Last week Kobe couldn't do without me. You know how I be. Last week Kobe couldn't do without me.
I'm not gonna lie to you all, that entire Shaq freestyle is really, really funny. Kobe shrugged it off and Shaq insisted it was all in good fun, but we all know Kobe was motivated at least like 3 or 4 more % because of it, at least. Individually, Kobe had a very solid season in 09, averaging 27 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. He'd finished second in MVP voting behind LeBron James. Mamba was unleashed, however, in the playoffs, scoring 27 a game in both rounds 1 and 2 as the Lakers beat Utah in 5, then Houston in 7. Against Carmelo Anthony and the Nuggets in the West Final, Kobe would post 34, 6, and 6 a game, and the Lakers won in 6 games, advancing to the NBA Finals. Another wild what-if from this era of the NBA. The Lakers would meet Orlando in the Finals, as the Magic had just finished off LeBron and the Cavs in the East Final. A LeBron James-Kobe Bryant battle in the Finals had been something NBA fans were almost unanimously looking forward to, and was being touted months in advance as the probable Finals matchup. In LeBron's defense, he did average 39 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists in the series loss to Orlando, but you know what? That's a different story for a different video. It wouldn't be a king traveling to LA in an attempt to capture the Larry O.B. Instead, the one they called Superman. Did Kobe and the Lakers have enough kryptonite on hand to combat the Man of Steel? Let's find out together. By the way, we're picking the series up in Game 2 from LA, after the Lakers took Game 1 in a 25-point rout in which Kobe scored 40 points. On to Game 2, however. Kobe's first look at the game, a deep 2-point jumper, fell way short. Courtney Lee then on the other end blowing by Kobe and finishing at the rack. 23-year-old Trevor Ariza spotting up, taking a feed from Kobe, and splashing from deep. First offensive activation from Pau Gasol.
Gasol on the drive, blocked by Howard. Oh, what a rejection.
Yeah, that didn't go so well for Pau. Next possession down though, Gasol able to give Rashard Lewis the work in the post, finishing with the left off window. Dwight going to work offensively for the first time. He got fouled on the drop step. A pair of early fouls on Andrew Bynum sent him to the bench. DPOY Dwight with a perfect double team and strip of Kobe on the perimeter, but wily veteran Derek Fisher sacrificing his body on the other end, taking the charge. Some beautiful low-high post action as Pau shoveled off to Odom for his first hoop of the game. Another play by the wily vet Derek Fisher, tipping a pass before drawing a foul once again on Petrus. Wily vet. Yeah, I kind of like that term. I think I'm going to keep using it, yep. Kobe's second make of the game, an ISO and pull-up over Hedo Turkoglu from the elbow. Odom facing up himself on the catch and hitting a 2-point jumper, but moments later, this was prime Dwight at work, skying for an offensive rebound before putting down one hard dribble, spinning, and finishing. After a Derek Fisher pull-up midi, this low-scoring game was tied at 15 through a quarter. Regrettably, I didn't have time in the intro to talk at length about these Orlando Magic and their surprising run to the NBA Finals. So why don't we do it right now? The Magic were legitimately good during the regular season, winning 59 games in the East, anchored by their defense, which statistically was best in the NBA. Now obviously that defense was powered by Dwight Howard, who led the league in rebounds, blocks, and won Defensive Player of the Year. But it's the 09 Orlando supporting cast that is just so, well, I'm not even sure how to describe it. Alongside Dwight, point guard Jameer Nelson was an all-star averaging 17 a game, but was injured for the remainder of the regular season right around the all-star break, only returning in a limited role for the finals. Come playoff time, around Howard, the Magic started Hedo Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis, Rafer Alston, and Courtney Lee. Again, just really hard to describe that collection of killers. Each supporting piece had their chance to go crazy in the 09 playoffs though. Against the 76ers in round 1, Alston would average 15 a game. Rashard posted 20 a game against Boston in round 2, and to beat the Cavs in the East Final, 5 players including Mikal Petrus averaged in double figures. It truly was a magical run for Orlando. Okay, yeah, that was such an obvious pun. It's not even funny, Jay, come on.
Oh, come on!
The Lakers bench mob getting some work done to open the second quarter, beginning with Jordan Farmar connecting from the top of the key for a deuce. Odom then looking a bit LeBron James-ish.
Quick down the other end. Oh, and a block from Odom. Banks it off the backboard.
He was really doing everything out there. Lakers grabbing a 5-point lead as Andrew Bynum dropped in a baby hook plus the foul. Okay, at this point, let me warn you all. We're about to witness one of the greatest single quarter performances by an individual in finals history. And no, we are not talking about Kobe Bryant. Rashard Lewis is the man of the hour, hitting a little line drive from the elbow for 2. Then Lewis off the bounce, pump faking along the baseline before hitting a mini fade. Moments later for the Magic,
Lewis for 3. That's good. Rashard Lewis suddenly heating up.
I told you, this Orlando supporting cast could randomly go crazy. The Lakers were trying their best to put the foot on the gas. Trevor Ariza his second triple of the game, trailing the play and connecting on another Kobe dime. Bryant then making plays at both ends of the court, knocking loose a seemingly perfect pocket pass from Turkoglu to Dwight with precision. He then attacked in transition, drew the defense, and found Derek Fisher wide open in the corner. Sometimes it's the low-key little plays, man. The Magic wouldn't go away, however, and by the Magic, well, I mean Rashard Lewis, splashing through another deep bomb off a Dwight Howard pin screen. Despite Lewis going nuts, the Lakers' defense was built different in 2009. Let's watch this possession. Trevor Ariza fighting over a screen to prevent JJ Redick from getting loose. Derek Fisher showing double to dissuade an entry pass into Dwight. Controlled closeout in the corner from Kobe. Aggressive run off the line of Turkoglu. Then high hands from Kobe and Pau to force a miss. It's just one example, but trust me, the Lakers' defense was locked. Finally, we found some offense though to end the second half, as Pau kicked and found Kobe in rhythm for a wide open 3 from the left wing. Rashard Lewis with the answer from the corner, a 3 of his own in contested fashion. Pau with Howard's hand in his face, confidently hitting a midi. But once again, you already knew who had the answer.
Lewis again open, puts it in. Rashard Lewis, his 4th three-pointer, and he has 18 points in the second period.
A smart read by Dwight from the post, by the way. Kobe had just 6 first half points, but did drop 5 assists, and the Lakers led by 5 at the half. 75 total points scored in the half, by the way. That's pretty wild. There's currently an overwhelming amount of discussion among NBA fans about the nature of super teams in the NBA, a conversation that I quite frankly find tiring. The late 2000s era LA Lakers never enter the conversation of being a super team because they don't fit the bill of having a million all-stars or high-profile free agent signings or whatever. But to me, they were a perfectly constructed, dope NBA team. Obviously led by a one-of-one superstar in Kobe, they also boasted Pau Gasol as a second option and super sixth man Lamar Odom as a third option. In my opinion, both Gasol and Odom were overqualified in their role. Pau was All-NBA in 2009 along with Kobe and averaged 18 and 10 during the playoffs, in an era that was still reliant on more traditional style big men. Odom meanwhile would win 6th Man of the Year 2 seasons later, and during the 09 finals specifically, averaged 13 points, 8 rebounds a game, shooting over 50% from the field and from deep. Again, both wildly overqualified. Add to that mix veterans who had big game experience in the rotation in Derek Fisher and Luke Walton, a pair of young players excelling in their respective roles in Trevor Ariza and Andrew Bynum, and that's a super good team, y'all. The Lakers were super. Not a super team, no, I wouldn't dare, but they were super good. The Magic getting themselves into a rhythm to start the third. Just the second field goal of the game for Dwight as he dumped in a rolling hook. Hedo Turkoglu then getting involved, slicing and dicing to the rim for the finish. Rafer Alston in transition, a nifty Euro step around Fisher, before Rashard Lewis hit a pair from the line to give Orlando the lead. Unfortunately for the Magic, Kobe also began to heat up in the early stages of the third. Moments prior, he had hit a super tough fader from the post along the baseline. To regain the lead for the Lakers, Kobe isolating and pulling up with silk over Courtney Lee from the free throw line. He then put the work in on Lee again, going straight to the mid post and fading through the contest for another deuce. Here's the first wow sequence from Dwight Howard in this game. going up high for a controlled block of a Pau Gasol attempt, before being the first one down the court and finishing with a dunk on the other end. I know it's a sports cliche to say this, but a lot of people really do forget how great prime Dwight Howard was. As mentioned, Howard won DPOY in 08-09, the first of what would be 3 Defensive Player of the Year nods in a row through 2011. He led the league in rebounding 5 times during his prime, blocks twice, and in 5 seasons from 07 through 2012, D12 averaged 21 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game on nearly 60% shooting. That's pretty spectacular. In addition, he finished top 5 in MVP voting 4 consecutive seasons, including here in 2009. And despite the outstanding role play from the other Magic members as I outlined earlier, Dwight was the best player on a championship contending team. He averaged 20 and 15 on the whole for the 09 playoffs, including a few signature performances. 24 and 24 in a closeout Game 5 versus Philadelphia, 23 and 22 to remain alive in Game 6 against Boston, as well 40 points, 14 rebounds in Game 6 against Cleveland, legitimately outplaying LeBron en route to a finals berth. Bryant up to 8 in the third quarter, finishing off a clean fast break feed from young Trevor Ariza with a dunk. Down 3, it was now Hito's turn to go a little bit crazy for the Magic, taking another feed from Dwight on the perimeter and connecting on a 3 to tie the game. Then to take the lead,
Turkoglu, that's good from 3. Hito Turkoglu with 12 points here in this third period.
A tough make from the corner. Dwight had 4 assists at this point, just kicking out from the post. That was exactly how the 09 Magic made the finals. This was such a clinical performance though from Kobe, slowly working his way into yet another mid-range jumper, up to 10 points in the quarter now. Nifty finish by Dwight on the lob out of the post from Turkoglu. Derek Fisher getting another clean look thanks to Kobe penetration and distribution, but Turkoglu gave the Magic a 2-point lead heading into the fourth quarter. The Magic Big Three, such as it was having a very strong Game 2 thus far. Howard had taken a seat for the Magic, which meant a lack of rim protection that Lamar Odom was able to take advantage of. How about another one for Lamar too, collecting a loose ball and depositing again in the paint. Kobe driving on Mikal Pietrus and drawing contact. He'd make 2 of 2 from the line. Rashard Lewis back involved with a 1-dribble pull-up conversion for 2. Dwight working on Gasol in the post, drawing a foul. He'd actually make 2 of 2 from the line as well. You truly don't see that every day. Kobe an assassin from the mid-range, working off a Gasol handoff and dropping it in over the outstretched arm of Dwight Howard. The pesky Orlando Magic though wouldn't die. Rashard Lewis up to 27 on the game as he hit another triple from the wing. Nice feed there from point forward Turkoglu. A super tough finish on the interior from Derek Fisher to tie the game back up. Rashard Lewis, though, answering with a pair of free throws. Pau Gasol tying it up once again for the Lakers, a Dirk Nowitzki-esque one-legged fade in the paint. Dwight Howard, though, answering with a pair of free throws. In case you didn't get my subtle hints, free throws played a large role here in the fourth. Kobe emphatically rejected by Howard, but was called for a foul. He'd make 1 of 2 from the line. Turkoglu given a pretty ticky-tack offensive foul on the other end, a push-off. Then Kobe getting to the line offensively once again, Pietrus fouling out. Kobe would convert both. Massive defensive play from Gasol, stripping Dwight in the post, Lakers ball, and again Kobe finding himself at the free throw line following an uncomfortable looking collision with Hito Turkoglu. Kobe 7 of 8 from the line in the fourth quarter alone. He'd given the Lakers a 3-point lead.
Good passing, Redick for 3. JJ Redick ties the game with 2:19 remaining.
And that lead didn't last long. First make of the evening for young JJ Redick, that was big time. Kobe drew some contact on the next possession, but didn't get the foul or the shot to fall. Orlando back with the ball, and somehow, someway, out of the post, Rashard Lewis twisting in a bank shot to give Orlando the lead. Under 90 seconds remaining, you know what time it is.
Shot clock at 6. Bryant on the drive, the runner looks to bank, it does, ties the game.
Huge shot from Kobe, bad decision by Dwight to not help contest on that attempt. Orlando ball once again, looking for someone to make a huge play. Navigating in a phone booth, it was Hito Turkoglu probing, then stepping back for a deep 2, which was money. Magic took the lead, which is good, but we're inches away from it being a 3-point lead. Just inches. Lakers possession, Derek Fisher another key play, setting up Pau Gasol despite nearly turning the ball over, the Lakers big tying the game up at 88. Important to note the Lakers set themselves up for the 2-for-1 with that quick score. Needing a stop at the other end, rookie Courtney Lee found himself wide open with a makeable floater, but he was just off. And the entire NBA world knew where the ball was going on the other end, right?
The Magic do not have a foul to give. Here comes Odom. Odom brings it up. Odom back out to Bryant. Bryant looking, Bryant driving, Bryant blocked from behind by Turkoglu.
A wild play from Turkoglu on the defensive end. Kobe was heated at himself for not getting a better look. The Magic actually did have 0.6 seconds left on the clock, and once again, Courtney Lee fumbling the bag with a chance to win the game. That's tough, but we got overtime. Sloppy play to start overtime. Another turnover in the post from Dwight. Kobe forcing up a tough jumper for the Lakers, then Turkoglu out of control, losing the ball out of bounds. I can't say enough about the little plays made by Derek Fisher. On the drive, dropping off to Pau Gasol, who was fouled. Pau converted a big pair, but back the other way for Orlando.
Turkoglu looking, lobs it into Howard. Howard up, shot, it's good, and a foul.
Huge and one conversion for Dwight. Kobe on the foul. There's like a 99% chance Kobe yelled, "Kobe!" when he put up this shot, falling away from Turkoglu awkwardly, but somehow getting it to go. Kobe! Another play made by Fisher, neatly picking off a sloppy pick and roll feed from Redick. He then barreled into contact and to the free throw line where he'd make a pair. Things were certainly getting hairy for the Magic. In need of a bucket, it was Turkoglu again with a clean look, this time the jumper just spilling out. With a chance to take a stranglehold on Game 2, the Lakers went to Kobe Bean Bryant.
Bryant looks inside, finds Gasol, count it, and a foul.
An absolute theme of this video, it wasn't a solo show from Kobe. In the clutch, an unselfish play hitting Gasol on time for the finish. He finally had teammates he could trust again. And he did. A JJ Redick layup brought the Magic to within 4, and Rashard Lewis actually got a decent look at 3, but it wasn't meant to be. The Magic had worn off from the Orlando playoff run, and the Lakers were simply a buzzsaw operating at an extremely high level in 2009. Led by 29 points and 8 assists from Bryant, the Lakers had taken a 2-0 series lead in the finals, and I'm sure that made Kobe just extremely happy.
Still to be happy about.
You're up 2-0.
Job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
Yet another iconic Kobe quote to put a cap on this iconic Kobe Bryant moment. Indeed, after Game 2 of the 2009 NBA Finals, Bryant dropped the "job's not finished" line that so many have replicated since, and he was correct. The Magic would steal Game 3 back in Orlando before the Lakers would close out the series in 5 games. For the series, Bryant averaged 32.4 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and 7.4 assists. Clearly his best individual finals performance, earning that elusive first finals MVP. I decided to cover the 2009 finals here on the channel because it was Kobe's first chip without Shaq. The 2010 matchup against Boston might be slightly more iconic, but we'll save that story for a different video. The 2009 finals was the capstone on an incredible stretch of basketball for Kobe Bryant as well. Forgetting about his historic 81-point performance in 2006 and the dark years he experienced with the Lakers, noted Kobe hater Bill Simmons summarized the momentous run from Mamba in the Book of Basketball. He submitted an unforgettable display of human will from Halloween 2007 through June 2009, leading his team to consecutive finals, winning an NBA title, and playing in a maximum 164 regular season games and 44 playoff games without a summer break thanks to the Olympics. He was the Terminator. He was Schwarzenegger with the bullets bouncing off of him. Gotta say, that's a pretty apt summary and also just a ridiculous stretch from Kobe. Meanwhile, as I touched on earlier, the addition of Pau Gasol to the Lakers was truly a watershed moment for the franchise.
The thing that helped us get to this level was the improvements that he made defensively. He did a terrific job defensively for us all year, and particularly in this series. And, offensively, his capabilities are limitless. Obviously, when we got him last year, that really, took us to that next step.
But more importantly than his sheer on-court talent, had the move not been made to bring in Pau or somebody of that stature into the fold, Kobe might have followed through legitimately on his demand to be traded from the LA Lakers. For each game covered here on Basketball Cinema, I'll be giving out 3 awards, beginning with the Clint Hawkeye Barton Award for Most Underrated Performer.
I don't care.
Which goes to Derek Fisher. I actually did mention D-Fish quite a bit in this video, but that's because I was blown away at the amount of little plays he made. Kobe had 29, Pau had 24, and Odom had 19 to lead the Lakers in scoring. But on both ends, Derek Fisher's 12 points, 3 assists, and 3 steals were truly invaluable. The Rick Dalton Award for most recognizable moment goes to this segment by the amazing Doris Burke on Kobe's iconic intensity.
That intensity never waned. Throughout the course of the game, he was jutting that bottom jaw, and even late in the game, with the game well in hand, the Lakers up 20, he is chewing on Pau Gasol for a perceived missed defensive assignment. His demeanor really changed in Game 5 of the Denver series. He got very serious.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Kobe could convey the importance of a game with his jaw. See, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm very jealous, okay? And finally, the Mark Jackson,
With all due respect,
award for weirdest moment in this game goes to 3-time Oscar winner and Lakers superfan Jack Nicholson. Upset at a call in the fourth, Jack showed off his vertical while simultaneously berating the referees. I'm sure he was yelling something like, "Steve Javi, darling, light of my life, you didn't let me finish my sentence. I'm not gonna hurt ya, I'm just gonna bash your brains in."
I'm gonna bash him right the in.
And that's it. The LA Lakers beat the Orlando Magic 101-96 on June 7th, 2009. It was Kobe's first NBA title without Shaq and his first Finals MVP. If you enjoyed this episode of the show, please consider dropping a like down below. And if you can see yourself watching a few more of these in the future, I'd suggest you subscribe to the channel as well. Also, leave me any comments you have on literally anything from this video. They all help the YouTube algorithm. Next week, we close the book on our Kobe series with the greatest final chapter to any career that we've ever seen. But until then, I'm Jay Canada, and this has been Basketball Cinema. Saying he submitted an the reaction from Stephen A. Smith to the okay, hold on. I'm not gonna lie, that whole Shaq freestyle is literally hilarious. Nah, don't do that. It wouldn't be a king traveling to LA in an attempt legitimately outplaying LeBron en route to their